Yes, team. A huge welcome to the Total Mental Performance Podcast. Today we have one of my one-to-one projects. The journey that this guy is on, like, keep an eye on this guy because he's absolutely flying. His name is Nathan Joseph. So he's a coach, he's an entrepreneur, and he's a creator. And we've been working together. How long now?
I would say
7 months.
Yeah, six, coming up to six
Coming up to
now.
6 months.
Yeah.
And what he's done in that time is just absolutely phenomenal, overcoming some really, really big setbacks, but coming out on top. So, Nathan, mate, welcome to the pod. Great to have you here in person too.
No, honestly, obviously met you once in the flesh before, but coming out here this time, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I forgot you were so big.
Yeah, I know.
And you
Honestly,
probably forgot I was so short.
No, honestly, I got in the cab on the way here, and the driver was literally like, "How tall are you?" And I was like, 6'4", 6'5". He was like, "Mashallah."
That's funny. That's funny. Well, mate, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you share with everyone, like, what do you do?
So primarily, I'm an online fitness coach. Just through the journey that I've been on, from creating videos, people started asking me whether or not I had low-calorie recipes. So I ended up creating a recipe book at the back end of last year. So they're currently my two businesses, but more to come in the not too distant future for sure.
Cool. And just tell us a little bit about what you do with clients.
Yeah, so my coaching, I would say, is very different to your normal online fitness coach. It's based off of my past experiences. So I battled with my mental health to a point where I wanted to take my own life. And after that, I made a promise to myself that I will do anything it takes to feel better. One of those things was turning up to the gym, because I thought to myself, that is me showing every single day that I'm willing to do something for me. And at that time, I didn't really care about myself whatsoever. And eventually I started to feel, I wouldn't say I felt better, but just, I like to say, a little less shit. Mm-hmm. I gave myself 100 days to like transform the way that I thought and felt about myself. And at the end of it, I was like, I couldn't believe how well it worked. So then over time, I thought, this is too good not to give to other people. So then I created a coaching business off the back of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
100 days.
Yeah. So my business is called Built in 100 because of that reason. Yeah. It was. Yeah, so maybe it's a bit corny, but yeah. So it was a 100-day process where I wanted to incorporate my social life, my mental well-being, and obviously my physical well-being, and it all married up really well. So, buzzing with how it's all gone.
Yeah. So what happened before then? Like, how did you get to the place? Because I've been there too. We've spoken about it in the past of, I don't want to be here anymore. Mm-hmm. It's an odd place to be, and you probably don't recognize that version of yourself anymore. But like, what happened before then that led to that part?
I think there was definitely a few factors. A big one was, I remember going into my job before I left that to go on Love Island. And I was thinking, I am meant for more than this desk. And because of my age, even though I was really young at the time, I thought I should have achieved a hell of a lot more to have the life that I wanted to live. So I was just putting all of this pressure on myself. I haven't got a wife, I haven't got kids, I haven't got a good salary. How am I going to do all these things? How am I going to be this provider that I aspire to be? Everyone else looks like they've got their shit together. And for me, it just felt like everything was falling apart. So another issue I had was I couldn't see success. So even if I achieved anything, so I launched a business around a similar time, which was a mobile app that got onto the App Store, raised funding for it, and it was just me. Now I look back at it, I'm like, I was actually doing so well. But because I couldn't see success and I couldn't appreciate it, I was just numb. And then, I just got to a point where I was like, what is the point of living? I don't want to be here. I remember I'd like go to bed and I'd be going to sleep crying because I was hoping that I'd pass away in my sleep, because I thought that'd be easier for like my parents or whatever, that I didn't take my life, because then it wasn't like me choosing to leave them. and it had just happened. But obviously that never happened. Got to a point where the day that I was going to do it, because I couldn't live with those thoughts anymore, spoke to the only person that I knew had battled with their mental health, and they was like, I've got a therapist that you can see if you want to. And then that was sort of the day where I was like, I'm not going to lose this battle. I'm going to fight with everything that I've got every single day and see where I get to. I think as well, it was really important for me to take away every night, as I say, like I was hoping that I'd pass away, but also I remember wishing to just be back to my normal self over and over again, and expecting it to happen overnight. Whereas the reality is nothing changes if nothing changes, and you have to put in the work.
You know, suicidal thoughts is such a odd place, because when you're in that place, the brain is looking for a solution to a problem. And the solution is, if I'm dead, I won't feel this way anymore. Right? Sounds overly crude, but that's essentially what's going on. But when you can learn to not be triggered by those thoughts, to not take them seriously and understand that it's just a thought, it's just a solution, it doesn't necessarily change the feelings that you're experiencing and the discomfort. But there comes a shift where you realize that they're just thoughts. But they can be quite frightening thoughts.
Definitely. I think for me, I remember thinking, I was like, I don't want to die, but I just cannot continue to live with this thought pattern. And the way I always describe it is, it was like a devil and an angel on each shoulder. And I would get bursts of these suicidal thoughts. And the first time it was like, no, the angel's protecting me. But every time they would come in the bursts, it was like the devil was gaining more power, until I felt like I had nothing else to give. So I was like, the only way out of this is to take my life. It wasn't a case of, I'm sick of living. Like, that wasn't the case. Do you know what I mean? It was just, I cannot live with the thoughts in my head, and I didn't know how to deal with them. Luckily, as I say, I spoke to the only person that I knew that had battled with their mental health, and then went to therapy to understand myself, why I think this way, how I can choose better thought patterns when they pop up. And as you say, understanding that they are just thoughts.
So as you look at where you were, and I think a lot of men struggle with this, and I certainly struggle with it, is when they perceive themselves to have failed or not to have been successful. And particularly at that early 20s age, it's such a sensitive age, right? So hang on, I'm 22 years old, I'm not a millionaire yet. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what's wrong with me? I'm an idiot, I'm a loser, I'm this, I'm that, right? A lot of pressure. And I think even today, it's even worse now. Like, where social media was then and where it is now, they're like two different beasts. But that pressure clearly warped your reality on what life should be.
I think it was probably internal for me. I would say, I don't want to act like I'm this mega entrepreneur, but I would say I'm yet to find someone that is as ambitious as me. Not to be the best, but just because I want to experience everything, right? So it's like, can I do this? And because of that pressure, it was like, well, you've got all these dreams of experiencing all these things and starting these businesses, and yet you're where you are, right? So that pressure was then coming on top of me. But because my mental state was so low, then you do go onto social media and you see people booking business class flights here, there, and everywhere, getting new cars, all these things. And then you're like, everyone is running away from me. Everyone's got life worked out, and I am literally feel like I'm in a shed. Do you know what I mean? It's actually why I don't really share. Obviously, I've come over here for work, but I'm in this like weird space where obviously I want to enjoy my life, but to share it on social media sometimes, I do feel in this like limbo, because I remember being back in that place. Do you know what I mean? Where I don't want to be the reason someone else doesn't think that they're doing enough with their life. Which I think a lot of people now, it seems like people can't go to an airport without getting a picture to show they're going on holiday. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Okay. So you work your way out of that. Just share some of your experience with the therapy process to get out of that, because that wasn't easy to get out of.
it really was about changing my thought patterns in the sense of, so I did cognitive behavioral therapy. And something that really stuck with me was my therapist said that thoughts are like traffic. If you stop a car, you'll cause a traffic jam, and then everything gets really overwhelming. So that was something that really stuck with me to this day, because it is so true. I can stew over things so much, and I did then, like, why is this happening? Why is this way? I have this like real need to understand. So not letting go of thoughts would then create this absolute mess in my head, which I do believe led to me down that route. But I guess that is why, or doing that and how much it changed my mindset in such a short period of time, I always said that I would have someone in my corner for my mindset going forward, but I just didn't know where. And I'm somebody that I need to have a reason, right? So even before we met, I was like thinking, not because I was in a bad place, but I was like, prevention's better than cure. So I wanted someone where I could use as a soundboard. And then when you apply business with mental performance, I was like, okay, this is everything that I need. So I guess that was my journey with the therapy. And if I'm honest, starting it, I was like, went to one session, I was like, oh my God, amazing, I'm cured, like I'm back. Next session, it would feel like, I used to play a lot of rugby, it would feel like I'd just played 80 minutes and then a car had run me over. That's how tiring I found the sessions, or how knackered I was after it. It was a real roller coaster, and it almost felt like you take 2 steps forwards, 10 steps back, and then that would continue over time. Until one day I was like, I remember it's where I actually decided to move to Australia as well, through therapy. Sort of said, what have I got to lose? Pros and cons. And then when I moved to Oz, in my head, I was just really like, I think it was like 18 months after, I was waiting for the day that those thoughts started to creep back in, and I lived in fear. I was like, is that it? And then after 18 months, I was like, actually, I've got a pretty decent toolbox here that protects my mental health, that I implement to this day still.
And then what happens after that?
I'd honestly say, and it is very deep, but wanting to take my own life is the best thing that's ever happened in my life, because there's no battle that I will ever fight than overcoming my own mind. That is the only person you live with 24/7. So going to sleep with those negative thoughts, waking up with them, it sort of showed me that I am so resilient. And if I can't succumb to that, then what can I do in this world? Moved to Oz, didn't really have too much money in my pocket, was just like, I need a new experience, new way of life, I guess. Went on the tools. I literally cannot put up a IKEA flat pack. So it was just getting those new experiences, trying new things. But what I realized was I did work on solar farms, and I was like, whilst I was solar farming, I was like, this is the happiest I've been in ages, away from the corporate job, away from obviously family, friends. But I was like, I have freedom in my mind. And then that's when it comes to me. It's like, what do I actually want to do? Because obviously in Australia, you need to do solar farming for a period of time to get your next visa. So I was just thinking to myself, what do I actually want to do? And then I was like, that's when it come to me. I was like, okay, I've just been through this massive transformation. This needs to be given, even if it's to one person, it needs to be given to someone else. So I was like, when I'm off this solar farm, I'm going to start posting fitness content, and then we'll just see where we go from there. And yeah, it's kind of worked out.
Yeah, it worked out, didn't it?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what's it like working on a solar farm? Like, what do you actually do?
So I had it quite good, to be fair. So my missus was already on the solar farm. and they're quite hard to get onto because they're really well paid. And obviously with my size, they was like, you can put panels up. So I was like, all right, no worries. The first 3 weeks, I was just in the panel team every day, just going down the column, like 25 kg panels. You literally just put one up on one side, one up the next side, all day long. Start at like 7 in the morning. Well, you're there for sunrise and you leave at sunset. 3 weeks in, because obviously the farms are in huge open spaces, the elements play a huge factor to the days that you can work and the days you can't. 3 weeks in, it's a real windy day, and the supervisors are like, we're going to have to call it off because it's too dangerous. But I hate being cold. So I was like, there is no way I'm standing around for them to make a decision. I'm just going to put panels up. So it was just literally me just putting one panel up. And usually you're in like a team of 20 people, whereas it was just me putting panels up on my own. Supervisors coming up to me, are you all right? I was like, yeah, I'm sweet. Panelled the whole row. Next day they called me into the office. They was like, we want you to be lead in hand. So I was like, all right, what does that entail? And it was like, you just basically manage the team of people that are doing panels, drive around in a ute, which is like a truck. So I had it quite good, to be fair, other than the first 3 weeks where I was freezing. Yeah, but it was decent.
Yeah, cool. So then you have your revelation of, this is how I want to coach. Like, this is what I want to do. So how did you then start from there to get into where you go today?
When I was struggling with my mental health, so before I moved to Oz, I'd seen someone online coaching, and I was like, okay, I go to the gym, I enjoy that, and I want freedom in my life. So I emailed this online coach and I said, what do I need to do to have your job? And he come back to me and he told me, and at that time I had no self-belief in, I haven't got enough followers, I haven't got the right equipment, I don't know what to speak about. So I just postponed it for 2 years. Then obviously went through this transformation, which gave me my why. And then from there, it was initially, so I came back from solar farming. I started working in recruitment again, because in Australia, if you work in recruitment, you can get basically sponsored to then get PR, so you can live there forever.
Okay.
That was the plan. 3 weeks in, I was like, this is hell. So it was basically forced my hand. Started posting every single day. I only posted workouts to begin with because I was too scared to talk to the camera. Anytime I did try and talk to the camera, I'd be like, I couldn't get a sentence out. And initially, I was so worried about what other people would think, because it was like, oh, he's trying this or whatever. But I remember when I got to like the 3-month stage, I should say, I thought to myself, well, if I stop now, that's going to be even more embarrassing than starting and then quitting. So it was like, well, I've got to do it. And then it was sort of a process of realizing, okay, if I really want to make this a career, I need to start talking to the camera. The only way you're going to get better at anything is to do it. My videos for well over 2-3 years, in my opinion, were rubbish, but also they were sharpening the sword to then really align me to what my message is, who I want to coach, and obviously how to create content that not only is interesting, but delivers a lot of value and grabs attention. So that is where I am now, obviously with the help of investing in other things that have helped me along the way, for sure.
And then how did the coaching bit start? How did you actually start coaching someone?
So it was 3 weeks into January when I started the recruitment job. Then I started posting content, and then I just had one of my mates who was like, do you do plans? And I was like, I can do that. So then I was like, made him a plan. How does, I think it was like $150 sound for the month? He was like, yeah, I'll do that. So I was like, cool. He told his mate. Then it was like word of mouth, I guess. And then it was like, okay, I can actually make money from this. But it wasn't about the money to begin with at all. It was just like, I want to add value to one person's life every single day. And if I can do that, like, that's a life well lived. Yeah. Because there's not many people that can say that they've added value to people's lives consistently ever. So I was like, that is a good thing to do. And it was like COVID as well. So because I'd just started that job, they was sort of sacking the new people that had joined. And for some reason, I stayed on, but I had to go into lockdown. Obviously, it was recruitment. So there wasn't much work to be doing. And I was like, I'm getting paid by this company to then sharpen the sword at coaching, which is what I'd done until they was like, you're actually taking the mick now. So I was like, all right, sack me. But I remember I'd like three clients, was making $450 a month from it. And I remember the call to my dad. I was like, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go all in on this. And he was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Go and get a marketing job because then you'll know how to advertise yourself or whatever. And I listened to him because obviously I had fear in me, like, would this work? And then obviously I got sacked. So I was like, well, it's COVID. I've got no other choice but to do this. And obviously the planets aligned really because people couldn't go to gyms. They didn't know how to work out at home. So then they started coming to me, and obviously the buzz of changing people's lives, that just literally, like, it was like a drug. And then I was like, I need to do this more. Yeah.
And you haven't looked back?
No. There's definitely been doubt along the way. Like, can I take it to another level? Is this something that can give me a prosperous life? All of the things that I want to do personally, will this evolve into it? And it's definitely taken years to get to a point where now I'm like, almost, I am living when I started, I'm living my dream life now. And that is insane to say because obviously when I started, I was literally just eating tuna out of a tin because I didn't have no money. Do you know what I mean? So
come a long way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's nice to reflect.
Yeah. So then what happens? So you got a handful of clients and you've worked your way out.
Handful of clients.
Because there was a point where you hockey stick growth, right? Like you're chipping away. There's been years of frustration. Yeah. Because often people think, oh, he burst on the scene, he came out of nowhere, but it wasn't. It was, first of all, I didn't actually know you weren't on Love Island until after you signed up.
Right, okay.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And
I don't tell many people that, even though I've mentioned it on here.
Yeah, I actually didn't know.
Yeah.
So you did that, then you've done your business, and then you've gone into a real dark patch, and then you've gone, all right, work my way back to health, like just mental health. Yeah. Then we go to Australia. Yeah. So again, these are all moments.
Definitely.
Where you have been like struggling, and then you finally get your first few clients. And coaching and mentoring is a drug, right? When you see somebody look at you and they don't look at you the same again, like that's a very hard feeling to replace.
Yeah, definitely, you know? Definitely. I think.
And then there was a moment though, so you've almost like you continue and you continue, and then there was hockey stick growth. So going,
yeah.
So tell me about the hockey stick, because you've laid the foundations to get there, and you've had a couple of hockey sticks. So what was the first hockey stick? Like, what did you do and how did you make that happen? Was that with your content first before the business? Was it the other way around? Like,
so for me, I was grinding 3.5 years, I would say, invested in different business mentorships. This is what's going to take me to the next level. And I could put the blame on the mentorships, but I like to also take responsibility for my outcomes. And maybe I wasn't in the right place then to really implement what I was being told in the way that I should do it. But I am also someone that I really want people to, I understand that I'm going to go further if I have other people helping me along the way. But I also like it to be not my way, but it's like, okay, this is how you do it, and then I'm going to put my personality or spin on top of it. So it was maybe like 3.5 years. I just made the biggest investment of my life, which was for a team, and they did absolutely nothing. Like, it was easily the worst investment I've ever made. And that sort of really put me in a, this is literally back end of 2023. So not even that long ago. And I was not in a bad place mentally, but I was like, how am I ever going to get away from this and to where I need to be? I saw Sean Casey's content, and I would say I've got like pretty dry, monotone voice. And the video that I saw was him basically saying, like, can't believe I've got X amount of followers when all I do is talk about nutrition in my mum's kitchen with this monotone voice. And it really connected with me, because before online, I probably tried to show up as someone that isn't my authentic self in terms of my personality, which I think is so easy to see. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to be me. This is not my last shot, but it really felt like I was like, how many times can I get back up, right? I was going to be myself, make content, and then from just a few videos, I had like the highest amount of engagement that I'd ever had. And I was like, I'm just doing this from looking at what he does. What if I can get inside? So then he's got a business called The Social Circle, which basically it teaches you how to get your message out in a way that is interesting, because I always knew my message was good. Yeah. And I always knew it's important to prioritize your mental health over your physical health. And I think that that sometimes gets abandoned in the pursuit of getting a body, which for me is silly, because when I wanted to take my life, I had six pack. So like, it just doesn't correlate. So joined the Social Circle last year, was very close not to join in because I'd been burdened by investments before. And I just had the mentality, whatever I'm told in this, I am going to do. Every day I studied the course, every day created content, every day battered Sean with questions. How is this bit of content? What can be better? And then at the time, I think I was on 38,000 followers. And that was 13 months ago. Now I'm on 436. So it's been a big change. That's just on Instagram. And I've gone from 8,000 to 190 on TikTok. So in a short amount of time, there's been a huge change. But I would say those years of chipping away, getting in front of the camera, getting comfortable, being shit, but aiming to be a little bit less shit, they're the most important years. Yeah. And when I hit 100K, I did really get emotional, because not because I'd built this community of 100,000 people, which is something to be proud of, but it was very much you stuck in there. Like, you just did not give up.
Yeah, you didn't give up.
Yeah, and people was sort of reaching out to me saying, "Oh, congratulations, you've hit this." And I was thinking, it didn't. Annoyed is not the right word, but I was like, I don't need you to celebrate this now. I needed you when I was. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
There's a bit of anger, like, where were you giving me my flowers when I was going through it and I needed? Because you know what, right? One thing that a lot of men need is just a bit of encouragement, like especially when they quite haven't figured it out, because no one really cares. You know, it's just like, oh, if I can get on with it, son, like, crack on. Yeah. But when you're in the darkness, the frustration, the annoyance, sometimes just I see you, I see you working hard, like well done for the effort into the process. So I suspect that's probably why you were frustrated. It almost felt like that was like a mini finish line. And everyone's like, "Oh, well done!" Yeah. You're like, "You didn't see me halfway through this marathon. Yeah, like, exactly. My feet are bleeding." And
I think it's also because when I hit 100,000 in the community, what I did the next day was no different to what I'd been doing over those years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd still been waking up, creating a video. So the attachment of, oh, now you've hit that following, you are successful. I didn't like that, because it's the attitude that I showed to get to that point, to even when a video was getting low views or no engagement, it was still, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do this again. And obviously that ability to stick in there is what got me to where I am now, which is just the beginning as well.
Yeah. And then what happens?
Then
So you've built a following, the business is growing, the business is scaling.
yeah, my goal was to. I really believe to do things well, you have to focus on one thing, and it's really easy to think, well, I want to do this, this, and this, so I need to take everything on at once. For me, I wanted to nail down my socials, and there was a social circle event in Marbella. Obviously, I'd had this thought process in the back of my head, like, when I get older, like I'd love to have a therapist, just to have a soundboard out of my immediate network where I can tell them absolutely everything about me. Went to Marbella. There was a few speakers through this event. Out walks a geezer in an Arsenal shirt, and I thought, oh, here we go. And from that minute that you done your speech, I was like, you are my guy. I don't know when it will be, but there is no doubt in my mind, I want you to be that person in my corner. I cannot put my finger on the what, but it's like, not love at first sight, but do you know what I mean? It was like a connection.
It was the Arsenal shirt.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I think
He was like, he's an Arsenal fan.
It was a classic Ian Wright, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think it was a 98, the blue one.
You had like a Cantona shirt out the back, Spurs shirt with Klinsmann on, just choosing which one to use. But no, it was very much, okay, this is the next step for me, because although I was building this community and my focus was purely on just adding value, I didn't really try and monetize it whatsoever, out of fear, which a lot of our sessions have been around my mindset with money. But everything was growing, and I was like, okay, now I'm good at content. And it was actually, the recipe book launched, and I can't tell you how amazing it felt to create the recipe book. I was doing like 17-hour days for like 2 weeks straight, which isn't a flex to say, oh, I work so hard, but I was just like, look at what I'm willing to do for other people to help them on their journeys. That really gave me a huge buzz. Recipe book comes out. Over the first 4 days, financially, it made a number that I'd always aspired to earn in a month. And I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. And
wait, money didn't buy you happiness?
I know. Yeah.
Oh, man.
It was crazy. I felt just numb, frustrated, because in my head, that in such a short period of time, that was more money that I'd ever earned. And obviously you've got all of these people that are enjoying the recipe book, sending me screenshots of the meals. That's given me a buzz, right? But the money, I was like, it made me sick, but it was just like, it means nothing. And then it really dawned on me, if I look back at milestones that I've had in the past, I was never excited about them. I'd say that I had an issue with being excited for wins in my life, normal things that people get excited about, holidays. There was no excitement. And in my head, I was like, if I don't find joy in anything, I've got a huge problem. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I've just made this money. Now I'm going to put it to use and understand why I'm this way. How can I work through these issues that I have around money, around being excited, around putting pressure on myself? Because again, it was, as soon as the book was out, what's the next goal? No celebration, no being present, grind, burning out for 4 weeks, grind, repeat the cycle. So then, I got in touch with you, and I was like, right, you are gonna help me, whether you like it or not. Yeah. And although the social circle I'll never be able to do it justice, how grateful I am, not only for how it's helped me deliver my message to help obviously hundreds of thousands of people, it also introduced me to you, which something I love about my coaching is at the end of the journey, people, they almost don't realize how much they've changed in such a short period of time. And I'm not going to say how easy it's been, but I remember, I think it was after 3 months, I was sitting in my room and I was just so confused that I felt so calm in life. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, trying to understand, like, I just felt at peace, and a peace that I'd never experienced in my entire life. Because usually it's pressure, it's stress, it's what's next. I need to be working like a dog with two dicks, otherwise everything's going to fall apart. Whereas I was just there like, okay, I feel calm. I'm actually proud of my achievements, which pride is not a word that was in my vocabulary. And I was like, I don't know what is happening here, but I like it. And then even since obviously those 3 months, I think I've just like kicked on again from a mental perspective, because I always believe when you go up the levels of a game, whether that's business or life, the level you're at right now is the least amount of stress that you're ever going to have in your life, because as you go up, there's going to be more stress. But the tools you get help you manage that stress so it feels so much smaller than the levels before. And that is where I feel that I'm at right now. It's like, throw whatever you want at me, because not only do I feel more confident in my ability to deal with it and understand it, but I also, if I crumble a little bit, like when I lose my holiday clothes, I've got you there to sort of give me some words of encouragement, for sure.
He says holidays clothes in jest. Yeah, you'd lost your holiday clothes from a suitcase.
Yeah.
And where Nathan's a little OCD, it was spinning him out. So it was the feeling that was the issue, not
Yeah.
not the
was,
thing he was projecting.
It was the feeling.
It's like, where is it? It's gone.
Yeah, it was that I don't lose things, and I was annoyed at myself that I'd misplaced and now found.
Well, let's go back to the beginning, right? What was it the record month with the recipe book where you went, I'm going to raise my hand and bring in some specialist resource and help? Or was there another moment where you went, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna explore and deal with this now?
I think from the moment I met you, it was like bubbling away in the background, simmering. This is, because for me, it's like a combination of therapy and business. So for me, that is something, right, that is useful to me. That is something I can utilize, right? This is a mentor that I can bounce ideas off, understand my own mind. When I'm going up the levels, learn how to manage it. So the more successful I was getting, the more I understood I know nothing. Yeah. So then it was like someone was turning the saucepan up, and it was boiling, coming to boil more and more and more. And then I'd say when the recipe book launched, and then there was no emotion attached to it, that was like the water bubbling over on the pasta pot. Yeah, that was like, right, you need to get this sorted now because you are not happy. Not from I don't want to be here anymore, but I just wasn't happy in my work. My personal life wasn't great in the sense that because I was so fixated on grind, my relationships were diminishing. So yeah, it's just been a mental experience for me over the last, coming up to 6 months.
And what were some of the issues that, because I remember our first conversation and I remember looking at you like, oh, everything's there, almost like the bamboo that we spoke about in our in-person session here. Like, it's just waiting to shoot. And we'd already seen a few shoots because you'd seen some success in the coaching business and you'd seen some success in the following. It was like, right, this guy just needs to get out of his own way. So you walked in almost like with a handbrake on. You're like revving the engine. You're like, like, bro, you got these handbrakes on. Let's just lift these handbrakes. And so I remember seeing that and thinking, you know what, I hope he makes the leap, because if he makes this leap, he's gonna fly. And then you did. You took the risk, and you did it. You know. But what can you remember? What the key handbrakes were that were slowing you down?
I didn't think I was worthy of anything. I even remember I've been a coach or a PT for like 8 years, and I remember being like, oh my God, like, can I charge for this? Because I don't feel like I'm good enough. There was this massive element of, I'm never good enough. There's always someone better than me. There's nothing special about me. My self-talk was actually really negative, I would say. And I'd say that is come from my childhood, some elements of it, where I'm never good enough. Yeah. And that has been a constant battle for me to see that, like I said earlier, pride. I wouldn't have pride in what I do, because I can literally tell you one of the best rugby matches I played in my entire life. I guarantee you now, like, my dad would be like, that is the best game you ever played. And I could tell you right now the 3 mistakes that I made in that game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was very much focusing on negatives negatives and perfection. Yeah. I had to be perfect to be proud. And obviously perfection just doesn't exist.
Perfectionism is just protectionism, Nathan. It's a way of defending yourself from not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. When anyone's suffering with perfectionism, that's essentially what's happening. They're just afraid of putting something out and it not being good enough. Thus, they don't feel good enough. So by letting go of that, you can move faster, feel more free, and that is where also you feel more calm.
Yeah,
you've got more time, because you're like, okay, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be good enough. Like, I just there's a difference between good enough and perfect, and most of the strife lives in the gap between good enough and perfect.
I think you're spot on, and it's even with like little things. Like, I would say I'd need to be at 100% all the time, whereas now it's like I'm just aiming for 80%. If I can stay in the game,
there we go,
80%, always turning up in that way, then I know that I'm going to go further. And I like to think of it like a phone battery. Yeah, like if I'm at 100% and then I go down to 0, well, I'm going to need time to charge up. Whereas if I can maintain that 80% constantly, then over time, that's going to be more than 100%, 0, a month of 0, back to 100%. And that would be like an anxiety loop as well, right? Because it's like, oh my God, the momentum's gone, everything's going to go to shit. And that was a huge thing for me. I had this like massive fear that, because I was probably only looking at last year as my radical rise, right? And because it came so quickly, I had the belief that if you get something quickly, you'll lose it just as fast. I wasn't looking at the 4.5 years that I'd put in before last year. I was just looking at that as a sort of segmented space in time, which now I understand. I literally put in the hard yards, and I can honestly, hand on heart, say many would have quit in my shoes. I'm proud that I just literally just turned up for me, fouled again, and just kept getting back up. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the most important thing you can do in life. Just keep turning up, no matter the outcome, because you'll find a way. And if you don't find a way, it'll push you into a different direction, like it did for me, social circle, which then pushed me into you, which then pushed me into CM.
So there was a moment in the process where I remember you raising your hand saying, I don't know if this is working. I feel a little bit stuck. Can you remember when that was? It was around the football. You'd went to the football, you'd come back. It's like a week after that, and you're like, I don't know if this is working. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get out of this.
Yeah.
Like, you felt really lost. And I like to share these stories, right? Because often when people come on the podcast, they're like, oh, we did this and I sort of flew through this and it was kind of easy. And sometimes I have to remind clients that, you didn't always, you feel great now, but it wasn't an easy process. And then I have to remind them. But can you remember that moment where you're like, I'm trying to trust the process and I'm struggling to surrender and I'm stuck? Because I remember exactly where I was when I heard that voice note, actually.
So I was... more or less, when I joined, it was a really turbulent time in my personal life. Lost 2 step-grandparents and the dog in the space of a month. And I really struggle with grief. I always think there's other people that deserve their grief more than I deserve mine. So I kind of bottle it up all inside, and my way to deal with it is just to get out of my head. At the start of the program, you was like, I'm not going to tell you not to drink, but you'll get more out of it if you don't, which I didn't listen to.
That's actually one of the only things you didn't listen to.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing, Nathan come on the program and within the first session he let me know, by the way, I'm the king of implementation.
Yeah.
I went, really? He went, yeah, I am. I went, all right. And I think it was session 2, I said to you, maybe you want to, I'm not saying don't drink, but just for a period of time. And you were like, yeah, well, yeah. And from my side, look, I open the door, you either walk through the door or you don't walk through the door. I'm not going to kick you through it because I can't do the work for you. I can't help you I can't push you through it. You either walk through it or I shut the door and we say this isn't going to work. That was the only one of the things you didn't king of implement.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously I've done stints off alcohol before and seen the benefits of it, but maybe it was an inflated ego of, well, things have been going well and I've been drinking, so they'll continue to go well, so it's not to worry about. Then I remember over that period I was drinking so much. Went to a football match in early November. Got absolutely battered. Then because I was battered and out late, my immune system was low.
You were sick.
Got sick. Then I got food poisoning. So I was out of the game for like 2 weeks. And you was not like, what the fuck are you doing? But it was like, well, I said that you'd get more out of this if you stay in the game. So I was like, but I'm going to Ireland, I'm going to Dublin, I love Guinness, like, can I just do it after then? And it was sort of like a realisation of like, what I want is like, what I want now versus what I want most, right? And I love Guinness. I actually do love Guinness. Like, it brings me joy. But I prefer helping people every single day. So after that football match, I was like, right, that's it now. I'm not going to make rubbish excuses. I'm not going to say Christmas is coming up, because when I have stopped in the past, what I think is really important is to stop around really big events. People are always like, I can't do this because this event's coming up. Whereas in my head, if I can not drink over Christmas, the next 4 months, 5 months are going to be an absolute breeze, right? And it was like a switch went off in my head, I guess. And then I was like, no, I'm dialed in, not going to drink. And that was 5 months ago now. So, and yeah.
It was a bit of a tough love session, that, because I remember, as I remember it, there was a moment I said, well, do you want it or not? Do you want to be successful or not? Do you want to make the lasting change or not? Because if you don't, that's fine. Just accept you're going to have to sort of drag your way there a little bit longer. And then the second thing I did was, you ever taken time off drinking before? And you went, yeah. And you gave me 2 examples. I said, how did that go? And you said, amazing. My life went amazing. And I just shut up. And I just looked at you. And you looked at me.
And I was like, oh.
And you looked at me. And then I went, so let me get this straight. You're telling me you want to grow this business. You're telling me you want to scale. You're telling me you want to grow. You're telling me you want to sort out the mind, the way in which you think and feel. And on top of that, every time that you've dropped the alcohol, you've gone on a real winning run. Okay. what am I missing, mate?
Yeah.
And then I think I remember that call.
It was the logical breakdown because I
Yeah.
literally just remember just like thinking, oh, I feel like an idiot because the answer's right in front of me. It was so obvious what I needed to do, but it would just come down to implementation. And I would never say to someone, you need to stop drinking. Obviously, you never said that to me. You just said that you're going to get more out of it. And there is no doubt in my mind, like the ability to wake up and know I've got the consistency of thought every single day. I'm not going to be struggling with a 3-day hangover. And then it's, okay, I've got 2 days where I feel normal and then I'm back out at the weekend and then the cycle starts all again. Because the first time I stopped drinking, I remember I was living in Australia and UFC Sundays is a huge thing. Me and my mates would go out, we'd get absolutely battered. They'd go into their jobs. I'd have to start creating videos and stuff like this. And I was like, this is so hard. And then we'd do it all again the next week. And it really just made me realise, like, I'm in a different situation. They are going to get paid what they get paid, no matter what. Whereas for me, this is my business. I am the only person in this. If I'm not performing, no one else is. So I made that decision then. And then with this time, it was just, this is the time where I've probably learnt the most about myself whilst not drinking. I think that's obviously because I've invested in understanding my mind more, but it's also the time that I've had the biggest benefits. What do I like doing that isn't involving alcohol? Because before, it was very much around going to the pub, non-alcoholic beers, which I'd still do. But this time it was like, oh, well, I'm really interested in mental health. Let me go to a men's mental health day. I love going to saunas and ice baths. I love playing paddle. So I was understanding, like, what do I actually enjoy doing with my time? Chilling out in the evening, watching football, spending as much time as possible with my missus, and not being a mute. Like, I remember, like, if I was hungover, I'd really want her attention, but I wouldn't want to say anything because my brain just wouldn't be operating. I'd be snappy. I wouldn't like the person that I was. So all of these benefits were in my personal life, and then obviously everything that I'm achieving from a mental perspective and in business, it's like someone's just strapped a rocket up my ass. Do you know what I mean? Like, it actually is.
But I remember sometimes when you do what I do, you get something called unconscious resistance, right? And the client is going, I don't want to change. I don't want to change. I don't want to change. And essentially there's a secondary gain. So alcohol was essentially enabling you to escape from how you was feeling. And that was the secondary gain. So if we took that away, that would mean you'd have to feel even worse emotionally first, which would have given me the emotional content for us to change and shift and adapt for you to then feel better. But that was the crutch, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
And it stops entrepreneurs all the time. Like alcohol, like if there's one way you want to fuck your business up, right? Just pick up a really bad drinking habit and you'll just become more sloppy. You'll become more stressed. You become more inflamed, more annoyed, more frustrated, more anxious. And your productivity is just going to absolutely drop. Now, if you're somebody that does drink a lot and you want to see your business really grow, just take a 6-month breather. Just go, right, I'm going to really focus and lock in. And you'll be really surprised at how quickly people fly. But if there's an emotional connection with the alcohol, that's usually where working with a performance coach or a therapist that can do the emotional side, can help you unlock that. And that's what I could see was one of the clear handbrakes was fucking hell. But like, let's give yourself some credit here, because we're not just going to stamp on you in that moment. You were dealing with grief, right? You're dealing with a lot of grief, a lot of conflict in your personal life. There was a lot going on at the time. So that's where I tread the line between arm around the shoulder, come on mate, keep going, and a kick up the arse, which is, but there's a level here.
I think the way you approached it was exactly what I needed, because it was really at a point where it was like, I'm just going to get off my head. Any opportunity I get, the weekend's come in, like, let's do something. I'm invited to this event. Right, okay, where's the booze? And it wasn't, for me, it really was a case of like, I wasn't drinking, I like having a drink. I just wanted to get battered. So I didn't have to process my thoughts because I was like keeping everything inside, there was so much going on in my personal life. I'm trying to turn up.
It was hard, mate.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, it was really, really difficult. And again, like, I didn't think I was worthy of my grief. So I felt guilty of it. I didn't know how to process those emotions. And your approach, it was very much like, if I'm in that headspace, I almost get sick of myself. So it was like, you was that person to me, just one step in front of me. Yeah. So it was like, you're talking to me as like, you're not aligning with who you truly are at the minute. Like, feel how you feel, but understand there's different ways of processing this, getting through it. And yeah, I mean, I say so glad that I listened to you, but also so glad that I implemented it, because I didn't believe that it would make as much of a difference as it has. And that is God's honest truth. I was literally like, what is giving up booze honestly going to do? And it hasn't impacted my social life. Do you know what I mean? In fact, it's probably made it better. I'm having better conversations, still go out with the boys for a curry, still go out with the missus, come to Dubai, not drinking, been to Dublin, had 17 pints of Guinness Zero one night, but not a normal Guinness. Do you know what I mean? So you can do all these things. And if someone had said to me right now, would you have preferred to drink or go on the trajectory that you have? There's obviously only one answer.
Yeah. And the way in which we're working is we're working on the quarterly breakthrough. So every 90 days, we stick in a new layer of mental foundations. And at the end of that 90 days, we essentially have a new deck of cards, because every time a client comes to me in a session or at the end of a coaching sprint, the whole hand has just been, the deck of cards has been shuffled and they present a new hand. So then we look at the cards and then we go, right, well, where do you want to go and what cards can we play? So I think that first 90 days was all about stability and building the foundations and building that self-worth to go, right, my feet are on the floor here. I can start picking up the tools and start building. And there was quite a lot of emotional conversations in that. It wasn't easy.
It was really tricky because I had to go back into my past. I had to dig into things that maybe I even didn't like. We had sessions where I was talking about things that I've not spoke about since I was like 11. Do you know what I mean? Or even thought of since I was 11, but they're like deep, deep down. But I couldn't agree more in terms of, I like to, again, view life as like almost a video game, yeah? So it's like, when I joined, I needed you to get me to a certain level. And then it's like, okay, I've beat the final boss at that level. I've attained what I need to. I'm taking that to the next level. Then there's been sort of, oh, you're close, but the boss has beat you. You're close, but the boss has beat you. And then it's, okay, level up. What are we focusing on in the next 3 months? Which, for me, where my brain is so wired to growth, I want to learn, I want to implement, then I want to move forward. And that is why I think the way this is set up has been so beneficial to me, because it's like there's no stagnation, which is my ultimate evil.
Yeah. And there are times in coaching where I actually have to pull the client up and say, we're coasting here. Like this dynamic, we either need to end the coaching because for whatever reason it's not working anymore, or you need to pull your socks up and you need to actually understand that there's another level. I've never had to do that with you because you are wired that way, but it can happen. I've had clients that have been 3, 4, 5 years, and sometimes, just like any relationship, it can be there. Sometimes you got to re-inject that. But this is where I like working in 90-day blocks or in 12 months. Like, those are the two ways that clients can work with me, because in the 90-day block, it really is, okay, what am I going to get done this quarter? And even if we work together for a year, there are still 4 blocks in there. But by having the deadline, it's like, right, what are we going to achieve? So that first block was really about getting you stable, doing the inner work and the emotional work. And the second block was really about you going out and winning. So just talk us through like the last 90 days and what we've been working on and how it's been helping you.
I think the last 90 days is, I'd say the word that I'd stamp on it is, now I feel so assured in what I do. I wouldn't say I've always had mental self-confidence and self-belief on one side, but also a lot of self-doubt as well. But I've never felt this acceptance of like where I am, which has come from you. How do I word this? I feel like it's got to a point now which you've made it very clear to me that everything that is coming to me is deserved, but also it's been, how do I manage you through this? Because if I was doing what I'm doing now on my own, I'd be so overwhelmed, right? But it's almost stripping back different things in my life and understanding. I like to worry about the future a lot, as you know, and it's very good to have you there to be like, that is you. I remember one conversation where I was like, I'm a bit underwhelmed by something. Yeah,
I remember this.
And
Just, do you want to be frank with that? You don't have to say specifically, but it was quite important.
yeah, I made a massive investment, and when I got my action plan together, I remember you obviously had recommended the guys that I went with, and I was waiting for like 2 weeks for this action plan, and I was like, got WhatsApp out, Kieran, what is this? I'm a bit underwhelmed by what I've been sent. Obviously invested loads of money. And you just literally went, well, have you implemented anything? And I was like, no. And then literally from that point, I was like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong, implement it, and show you that.
Because like in our coaching, we have a very good coaching relationship.
Yeah.
There are moments where it's like, right, like let's knuckle down here. There are moments where I have to go, right, relax, breathe, like you've got this, and then there are moments where I give you a bit of a kick up the arse with a bit of a laugh. And I said, well, that's funny, because last time we spoke, you told me you was the implementation king. And I know that subtle, gentle, funny kick up the arse would have been, hang on, you're the implementation king and you haven't implemented. All you've done is moan and complain about that. And I think that just held up a mirror to what are you on about?
Yeah, I was like, it literally made me think. As I mentioned earlier, I'd invested in the past into other coaching mentorships. And I said, maybe the timing was wrong. Yeah. This could have had the potential to go that way if I didn't have you in my corner. Because it was almost like, oh, they should be doing it. They've done their job though, right? I need to pull my socks up.
Do your bit.
And when you said that, I was like, oh, I don't want to hear that, but it's exactly what I need to hear.
I was borderline offended. Like, I was looking at it, I was like, hang on, this guy wants to play Premier League football, right? Because that's what I'm pushing you to go through the levels. And he's complaining about something that he hasn't even tried.
Yeah.
Hang on. Where's the disconnect? So I was almost slightly annoyed that you'd even like come to me with this challenge. But then I remembered that this will be a breakthrough moment for him, right? Because I'm like, Nathan, come on. So I held up the mirror in a polite, gentle, funny way. And then I remember you didn't bring it up again. And then it was a couple of weeks later, you're like, yeah, this stuff's working.
I was like, I think it was a bit self-sabotagey, or almost like the hooks of my past trying to keep me like, oh, we don't want stress. Like, just stay where you're comfortable now. You can just stay here forever. This will be nice. Like, and then as soon as you said that, I was like, right, that is it. Like, I am the implementation king. I will do whatever I'm told to do if I can see the purpose. And literally since that point, it's just been unbelievable from a business perspective, helping so many more people now, less stress on trying to like spin too many plates. And also it's nice that I can call myself the implementation king again, for sure.
Since then.
It is, but it is about that. I think that obviously I can only speak on my experience, but even in our calls with the group or whatever, there's different personalities in there, and I think you know exactly what buttons of mine to push and how to push them in a positive way, because there is this competitive nature in me. There is this, I do exactly what I say I'm going to do. And then when you question that or probe that, like with the drinking, like with the implementation king, then I'm like, right, okay, I'm not sticking to my word here. And then that really does get me going.
Yeah, because it's your word, not mine.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of it, right?
It's not like you're telling me to
I'm not saying, no, I didn't tell you to do this. You told me you wanted to scale this business,
Literally.
and you told me this is what you need, and now you have it. Do you want it or not?
I literally see you, like we're on Zoom and I see you just scrolling down and I'm like, oh, here he goes. Well, you said this.
Well, that's another part of my coaching is the way I set out my notes is I have one document and I have a line, which is the title and the date of the session. And then I have all of the client information there. And then I have the next date of the next session. And I take a hell of a lot of notes. I'm typing furiously. So when I come back, I can know exactly, I can pinpoint where Nathan's trauma is being experienced in the body. I can remember, because I've written it down, the weight of the feeling, the color, the emotion, the triggers. I can understand the limiting beliefs. I'm literally decoding the algorithm. I've never actually said this aloud. It's just what I do. And I also get the science sound bite. So I write down certain little things that just show us where Nathan's at. And then, because I'm typing so much, if I ever need to do any recall to hold up a mirror to how far Nathan's come, but also just actually what he committed to, because at the end of the session we have all of the commitments. I go, I'm just going to take you back to this or this. Did you say he was going to do that, or do you still believe that, or whatever? That's what Nathan's referencing.
Yeah.
But
I think
that's how I work.
I think it's so powerful as well, though, because it's like at the end of the 3-month block, you're like, how do you feel now? And then I'll tell you. And then you'll go back to literally how I felt at the start. And I'm like,
what?
That is not me. That is not me. So obviously it's great to have that information on both parts, because, yeah, it makes me stick to my word, what I want to achieve. The words coming out of my mouth. It's not like you saying.
I'm not putting your goals and dreams, ambitions on you. You've told me you want this. Yeah. So you either don't want this anymore, which is no problem, and we'll adjust the plan. Or you're not being congruent with what you said. Yeah, why would you not be congruent with what you said? And sometimes it's some emotional stuff, and we go into that.
Definitely.
Sometimes it is you just lost sight of the goal, and it's just that little
and it's accountability.
realignment. Yeah.
It's accountability. It's reminders, and also for me, there's times where I'm like, not put my feet up, because I think it's important to do that, but there's also prompts that you give, like, okay, this is where you want to be, this is what you want to do, not trying to make me this like absolute demon that just works all the time. But I think that those reminders of things that I've said have been like, yes, that is, thank you for that, and then I'll go and implement it, because you obviously know why.
Last time I checked, you were the implementation king.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
That's a very simple journaling question, is what would the implementation king do? You know?
Yeah.
And that just helps you
Definitely
knock back into that. But at the same time, you're also taking more downtime.
This is... My missus will probably still say not enough. But for me, I would live in fear. Oh, my God. I am not giving my clients 24/7 of my attention. I've not created this day. Evenings, I would just literally work from... I'd have like a little routine in the morning, because I think it's really important that I prioritise myself before I look on WhatsApp, Instagram, all of that sort of stuff. And then I'd grind until I'd eat dinner and then just basically get in bed. Whereas now, taking my time back, really prioritising my personal relationships after a certain point, I've come away, obviously, for meetings out here, doing work. There's been days where I've been busy. Last week, I was in Belfast for a couple of days, then flying here. And I said to my clients, I was like, I'm literally travelling for 3 days next week. So I'll speak to you on Monday, I'll speak to you on Friday. I would never have had that authority in the past to have that, not necessarily downtime, but the ability to say, no, this is this is my business. You've got everything you need. I've asked you if you've got everything you need, and then I can move forward. I even tell people when they sign up with me, it's like, these are my work hours. I don't work weekends. If that's not good enough for you, no worries. But it has just given me rest. Do you know what I mean? And also an understanding of the world isn't going to fall apart if I don't take downtime. It's actually more stressful for me because I'm go, all I do. Whereas now I feel, again, calm, at peace. I'm enjoying my actual life more. I'm doing different things where, again, with the not drinking, understanding what I actually enjoy doing in my free time, throwing myself at that. So, yeah, that has been something that I don't know. It's something that I don't know how you've made me do it, because there's always been that fear of never doing enough, which obviously now I feel has been relinquished almost, because I know that I am.
Well, how did I do that? Very simple, but also very complex. The complex part is the ability for me to look into your unconscious mind and figure out the lines of code, the emotional and the trauma, whether that's with a capital T or a little t, doesn't really matter, about why Nathan doesn't feel good enough, why he doesn't feel worthy, why he feels he has to be perfect. That's the complex bit. And then using a series of tools and experience and intuition that I've developed over the years to help you let go of that, to help the inner child go, I don't need to feel like that anymore.
Yeah.
Actually, I am loved. I am enough.
Yeah.
That's the complex bit. The simple bit is getting you clear on why to change. Like, why bother? Why not stay the same? And you have a logical mind and an emotional mind, and these two are always doing battle. So I have to speak to both. So sometimes, and there are some people that overly only speak in emotion. There are some people that only speak in logic. You dance with the two. So with the drinking thing, I'm breaking you down logically. Well, let's just look at the logical equation here. But then emotionally, there's a bit of sharpness that gets injected, which is, but do you really think this is good enough to get to the league that you want? And are you being real, right? So that's a dance. And what you might notice on the group calls is the way I speak with you versus you and Kieran actually are quite similar, but also different. The way in which I speak with Kieran or maybe Sam or Aaron or Josh.
It is all dependent on the personality type. Like, I have picked up on that, because I would say that I am an observer. So when you're doing your coaching, obviously I enjoy the calls with everyone, but also I'm like,
what's he doing there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick up little things, like, okay. And I do understand it's like how to push someone else's buttons in different ways. Not in a, like, oh, I'm going to push his buttons today, but do you know what I mean? Like, make them tick.
Well, for me, it's the key, using the right key to unlock the lock, which is going to help them achieve more and enjoy more of the journey, you know? So with you, that's the way we solved that. So you could take more downtime and be more calm and actually enjoy, but still go out and win and still see exponential growth. The complex answer, we were dealing one-to-one with some deeper emotional limiting beliefs and little t and capital T trauma. But the simple answer was really simple. We defined the level at which you wanted to get to, the sacrifices required and the inputs required. And when you and I didn't have the inputs, that's why I said, I think we need to bring someone else into your boardroom to give you a series of frameworks and tools so you can grow the business. And so far it's worked out pretty well, right?
Without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt. It's, and I couldn't agree more with that. Like, I think I don't want to say like I don't understand what's happening, because that does it an injustice, but it just blows my mind how much has changed in my thought process in such a short space of time. But then also, I am someone that believes that confidence comes from evidence. And obviously, last year I did 10x on my socials. So in terms of my mindset, from where I am, from where I was in September to where I am now, that is night and day. And it is important to have the reminders of what game that I want to be playing. Yeah. What do I want to achieve in my life? Because that's going to be radically different to someone else. Right.
Well, that was actually something that was quite important, was that you weren't getting excited by things. You weren't experiencing excitement.
Yeah.
And there was a lesson there that you needed to pick up that you hadn't quite picked up
Yeah.
yet. Can you share that with the audience?
I will never forget this because it is something so basic. I felt. You said to me, it's not that you don't get excited. It's just you don't get excited by what everybody else does. So go and find what excites you. And that really made me stop and think for ages. Like, what do I actually enjoy doing? And it really boils down to, I enjoy doing things I've never done before. Yeah. I enjoy new experiences. So whether that is starting a new business, the enjoyment of creating the recipe book, that was really exciting to me. Going to a new destination, that is really exciting to me. But to hop on a plane and go to a destination I've been many times before, well, I know what I'm going to see. So I'm very like, I'm going on holiday. Do you know what I mean? Not to talk negative, like I'm very fortunate to be able to go on those holidays, but it's just not something that really excites me. And it is that ever evolving beast of, I want to experience this, and that is what excites me. Which is really, it's made me so much happier. Like, it actually has, because if I'm always there just thinking to myself, nothing actually is, everything's all right, right? What am I doing this for if everything's all right? I don't want everything to be all right. I want to enjoy life to the best I can. So to understand that my excitement comes from different things was, it sounds so little, but it is like hugely groundbreaking for me, and maybe something that I thought would never change, probably. Even when you was digging into it to begin with, I thought, I'm not going to get to the bottom
I remember
of
you
it.
saying to me, nothing excites me. And I said, no, I'm not buying it. And you were like, no, nothing excites me.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get excited by anything. And I said, well, maybe you just haven't looked like in the
Yeah.
right places, or you haven't looked hard enough.
Yeah, it was exactly that. And then,
But some of it's groupthink as well, because you're wired differently to a lot of people in your environment. So you're looking at them and seeing what they get excited by, and you're like, why aren't I getting excited by that? There must be something wrong with me. But that's not necessarily true. It's just you're interested and excited by your own stuff, things that light you up uniquely. And it takes courage for you to go, I know you guys like that. I like this. So I'm going to go and explore this, because that's what lights me up.
because I think I can literally give situations like when I've been away with my missus, she would be absolutely buzzing. Oh, you looking forward to going away with me? No. And I'm not in a bad way at all, but I'd be like, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at that time, I would be thinking there is something wrong with me, because I'm just so mellow to all of this. Like, is that my personality type where I'm just like, once it gets to me being in the destination, then I'll be buzzing. But to hear from you, I really enjoy going on holiday with my missus. Can't wait to go away with her in May. But it isn't the same excitement as experiencing something new or changing someone's life. Like, that for me is the drugs. Yeah, that is the real, okay, let me see if I can start this business. Do you know what I mean? That for me is where I'm like, right, this is go time.
And it's being shameless with that, because if you're not shameless about what you desire, you're not shameless about what excites you and lights you up, you're almost like damping that, they're like stamping on that inner flame of that inner child who's just curious and he just wants to go out and see, what's that about? What's this? I want to experience this. And the fact that we got very clear early, the thing that inspires you is experiences. And you just want to go and experience stuff and see stuff and feel stuff and do that. Well, everything else feeds back into that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, because even say when the recipe book launched, right, it was like, okay, this is great. But because I hadn't worked that excitement out on, okay, this is really exciting because now I can invest in a mental performance coach and understand my mind more, which that to me, learning, excitement, right? Where I would feel quite guilty in the sense you've got Sam that is so excited to go on holiday, and I love her to bits. I'm looking forward to being on holiday with her, but it's not the same level of excitement. So I would feel shame in the fact that I'm not at that level, but her thing is holidays. Yeah, that's what gets her going, like me with experiences. And understanding that that's absolutely fine, again, adds to the calm that I feel in the understanding of myself. Yeah, it's like, I'm not a freak. I'm just wired a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So if we think of that first phase was the foundations, and the second phase really was about helping you fly. Now, what do you see the next phase being all about? Because let's have it right. You came in quite unclear, quite distracted, a little unsure to your foundations are in, you're more calm, you're more clear. And now the business is really, it was taking off before, and now it's really starting to fly. What do you see the next development and growth of you to be for that next level?
I think it is managing me, managing I'm a massive dreamer, right? I can really think forward into the things that I want to do for other people. That's like my big thing, right? Be the provider. And I remember we had a session where I was like, I want to do this for this person. I want to do that for this person. And the reality is managing when the right time to do that is. It's not never doing it. It's just important to, not in a selfish way, but look after me first. Make sure that I'm not putting unnecessary stress on myself. And then I can look to do these things that will bring me so much joy. So it is going to be managing me, managing my overwhelm, because obviously, as you say, things are like catapulting at the moment.
Every level, there's another devil.
Yes. So it is about getting through that overwhelming period, for sure, which I already feel like after the session the other day, I feel like, okay, I'm ready for next now.
Well, we were talking about, because this is the thing, I see this with entrepreneurs all the time, is they achieve a certain level of success, and then they either assume they have to break through to the next level, and that's where they want to go, but they don't actually make a decision. They kind of just get swept along. And it's only when you consciously make the decision, no, I am going to go to the next level. I am going to make the next round of hires. I am going to push for growth. That's a completely different energy. But you have to make that internal decision. Don't let everyone else around you make that decision. Your mentors, your industry, your market. No, you've got to decide, here's how I'm going to change the next level. And then you have to not only hire the team to come into the business, but it's also hiring the team for your own mind, your body, your boardroom, to help you get to that next league, because they can see stuff that you can't see because you're in it. And that's essentially where we were helping you go, well, do you want to do this or not? Because you can stay here for a bit. It's really nice and comfy, and it's good, and the money's good, and the time's good, like, and then you went, oh, I want to go. And my job is to challenge your decisions and go, why, what does that give you, you know?
I think obviously for me, it is that next level. Yeah, it's that new experience. Can I handle it? That is what it is. Building out this team of coaches. Can I handle it? Moving into more of a CEO role. Can I handle it? They're all challenges, which, again, excite me. So from the session the other day, it was really, again, I come in and I was like, I feel like I'm at a bit of a ceiling now. And I want to move to this next level, but I'm just not pulling the trigger. Whereas after the session, it was like, right, this needs to get done. This needs to get done. This needs to get done. And it is just crazy. I think without you, those periods of time where I'm at a ceiling, they could last 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, easily. With you, this is what I'm thinking. This is what you've said. Then it's almost a calm in, okay, like you said, I'm going to walk through that door. Yeah, you've opened it. I'm going to walk through it. And then on to the next level. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to describe, right, before I walked into coaching with Kieran, like this is where I was, to the Nathan you are now, and you was going to just say, look, before I felt this way and this is how I showed up. Like, how would you describe those two? If we're in a video game, how would you describe those two characters in the video game?
I think before you had a confident bloke, but also it was a bit of a bravado. I think that my limiting beliefs were definitely getting the better of me. My lack of self-worth was definitely getting the better of me. My inability to see excitement or feel excitement was taking over my life. The pressure that I was putting on myself was impacting my personal life. Whereas now, if I was to say one word, it's more... Well, I'm not going to say one word because there's so much more to it, but I understand myself better than I've ever understood myself before. I understand why I think in certain ways or react to certain things in certain ways, or even when we do the exercise of when I'm starting to feel burnt out, I can notice patterns in myself. Oh, I'm not eating normally, or I've not drank as much water, or I'm not getting enough sleep, and that makes me feel this way. And then I'm very close to burning out, so I just need to have a day or an afternoon. It's understanding what my wants and needs are as a person, which has allowed me to stay in the game, implement more things that I need to, and now there's no bravado. Like, this is me. I am moving in the direction that I want to move in. I am Nathan Joseph. Do you know what I mean? And for me, that's all I can do is what I say I'm going to do. And right now, that's exactly how I feel my life is going. I do exactly what I say I'm going to do.
Like the implication thing does.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
So a lot of people struggle to make the connection between this work and business.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people go like, how does that lead to better business results? Like, if you're going to try and describe that to someone that's like, yeah, I'm interested in it, but I just don't see the link between business. How would you describe that link?
I think that everything operates from your mind. So it's like if you had a really, what's the saying, like tidy room, tidy mind, right? The same applies to business. Like, if you've got all of these thoughts going on in your head, all of this energy that you're wasting on these thoughts, whether it be in your personal life, whether it be how you feel about yourself, whether it be about your parents, whatever it is, all of that is taxing, right? So this is almost like, okay, let's dive deeper. We're going to find out that it's not that the issue of losing your clothes is important. There's something deeper than that. So then it removes the clutter from your brain. So then when you're in work, I'm working, right? When I'm out of work, it's like the door closes and I'm present. So having that ability to switch between the two, that is why this is ridiculously, like, I would recommend it to any business owner, because again, if your mind is tidy, you're going to operate at a better level. And if you can operate at a better level, you're going to move up the levels so much quicker. And yeah.
And if you connect that back to where the business was 6 months ago to where it is now, like, what's the change there? We changed you, so you operated the business better, and how you thought better. How has that changed the business?
So I think in 4 months, it almost done 4x in terms of growth. And by the end of this year, I expect it to do 10x easy. So that just shows how quickly things can change when you are able to get on top of what's going on in your mind. Because if you can strip that away, or not even strip it away, just understand it. I think that is the key. If you can understand what is going on in your mind, it just literally saves so much time in your own head, which allows you to apply yourself more and make the right decisions for you, for your business, so you can accelerate. And yeah, I'm not looking to put a handbrake on anytime soon. I'll tell you that for free.
Well, we should look at, like, I like to look at my clients almost like little boxes or cage fighters. And if we was going to put this Nathan in the cage with the other Nathan, right? The other Nathan thought he was good, but actually he gets cracked with a right hand and he hasn't got what he needs, the legs underneath him to take the right hand. Whereas now you've got, not only have you got the legs and the chin, but you've also got the stamina to grind it out and stay calm and not get overwhelmed by the moment to then get to that next level. That's what I see. What do you see of those two fighters if we put them in a cage and how they operate?
I think that if I was to get into a cage now with the previous version of me, this version of me would pummel the life out of him, but he would not stop getting back up. So that's what I'd say. So it'd literally be like, now I've got more stamina, I'd be beating the life out of him, but he'd continue to get beaten the life out of because he just wouldn't give up. And that obviously put me in a position to join him. But it is night and day. It is night and day, the two people that I am. It is amazing in terms of the business side of things. That has helped me help more people in a better way and understand that I am doing a bloody good job. Whereas before I had doubt. Am I actually doing a good job? But also it is so transferable into my personal life, into just me taking a minute for me. I think when you understand yourself more, it's easier to be at peace. Do you know what I mean?
What would you say to someone that's listening and they're on the fence? Oh, I'm really thinking about just hitting the apply button. I'm thinking about reaching out, but for whatever reason, they're just not quite. They're like 98% there, but they just can't seem to make that leap for whatever internal reason stuck with them. What would you say?
If they're anything like me, the itch is never going to go away until it's scratched. And as I say, I was burnt by many mentorships in the past, and the difference here is it is worlds apart from anything, because not only are you available in the one-to-ones, you obviously have the constant WhatsApp feedback. And why would you not want someone that is their sole goal, and what I think brings you joy is to see the transformations, right? So why would you not want that in your pocket? And I mean, I'm sure you come across all sorts of different things with your clients, but it's always, you get clear, concise feedback on how to move forward. And it's not an overnight thing. It's just putting one brick in front of the other. So one session, I remember one session we had, I was like, what was that? What was that all about? And then for the next 2 weeks, I was like, I am the most zen I've ever been in my life. So I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to. If you're in a position to invest in yourself, because that is what it is, it's an investment, right? And once you're in, your mindset's going to completely change in 3 months. And then that allows you to set new goals. And then after 3 months, again, the exciting thing is you would never have expected to be here 6 months ago. So you've got to set new targets and go again. So it is, if you're sitting on the fence and you don't get off it, you're an idiot. That's what I'll say, because, yeah, it's been life-changing.
Cool. Well, look, Nate, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And thank you, because it's blokes like you and clients like you that keep me in the game, that energize me. I'm very selfish about the clients that I work with. Number one, I have to know all right, this is a bamboo ready to blow, and
Yeah.
I know I just need to water it in these places and off it's going to go. The second part is I've also got to be fascinated by the individual. I've also got to be interested in their journey. There's got to be an element of likability and connection. So every time I get a message or I know we've got a call, I never look at and I think a lot of coaches experience this because they take clients that they shouldn't take on, they take them on, and then they dread messages from their clients. But if I get a message or I see that we've got a call, I get excited. So thank you. It's an honor to be in your corner, mate. And the trajectory that you're on, I think 12 months from now, it's going to be very, very different.
Well, you're going to be there until one of us is dead, mate. So that's just how it is. Like, honestly, this is, it's been unbelievable meeting you in the flesh, but what you've done for me over the last 5 months has just changed everything. So I can't thank you enough. And obviously I chose to join the program, but I can't put it into words how much it means to me that you let me in, because it's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, mate, it means the world. Thank you.
Yeah, legend.
Where can everyone find you?
So my Instagram is Nathan G. Joseph. That's probably the easiest one. Go to there and then you'll see things about my recipes. I often give them away for free on my stories, or you can find the recipe book with 50 high protein, low calorie meals at the LCA method, or the Lazy Cooking Association.
That's what it is.
That's what it stands for. Everyone thinks it's the low calorie alternative. I'm like, no, I'm the laziest cook ever.
Yeah, nice.
So,
Does that involve air fryers?
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Go on.
And I've got many clients that are in the fitness space.
Yeah.
I've got many friends that are there, and they can't believe it. But I got an air fryer just last week. I've not had
You've
one all
never
this
had an air
time.
fryer?
No. 2 years ago, my dad was like, "You haven't lived," and I was like, yeah, like whatever, just grilling and frying my food and whatever. And then I got one yesterday.
And
Last week, and I used it yesterday. Thoughts so far? I think operator error. I'm not sure.
Right, okay.
So, for example, I put a burger in for 10 minutes, 180 degrees, and on the inside it was still pink. And I was like, what's happened here? Like, I followed the instructions. I read it. I did a Nathan, implementation king, lightly greased the bottom. But anyway, I'm sure that there's a lot for me to learn. So I'll pick up one of those.
I'll get the LCA method over to you, mate.
I'll pick it up and I'll fire you over some of my recipes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nathan, mate, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Big love. Guys, if you love this episode, please share it out with your network. Please leave a review. And if there's anyone that's listening to this and you think, I need to share it with this person, share it. But also, if you are listening to this and you're thinking, you know what, I'm nearly there about potentially exploring this work. Like, for me, and as Nathan's experienced, like, if you want true internal freedom and you want to enjoy the journey and still win and achieve, like, it starts with the mind. It doesn't start with the external stuff. Like, journaling's great, the structure is great, and I'm very well versed in all the high performance external tool, but it's only when you do the work in here, and in here does your whole life change. So if you want to check that out, then just either drop me a message on Instagram or just head to the website www.totalmentalperformance.com or kieranO'Neill.com and just get in touch there. Love to help. Big love, team. Enjoy the episode. Till next time.